Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, we got a solo episode again, mostly because there hasn't been that much racing going on, and I've been super busy lately with family stuff and just all of that good stuff. Bunch of excuses, But last week, we had Brad Smith on, and that was probably the most impactful episode to me. I feel like the most, it probably changed my brain and my thinking the most in a way that's hard to really articulate. And if you haven't listened to it, there are a lot of reasons to listen to it. Now, I'm not just saying that because it's my episode. His story is absolutely unbelievable, and I'm so glad that I was lucky enough to be able to document it forever, because now presumably it will be on the internet forever. And I feel super lucky that that I got to do that, of course. I mean, his story is so, only 600 people experienced what he experienced, and between learning about dropping a nuclear bomb, between deployments in Libya or Lebanon, and the Vietnam stuff, the Cold War stuff, the JFK stuff, the hits kept on coming with him. And then we didn't even touch on his missile testing stuff. That is all he didn't even feel comfortable talking about it because it's not even that old. You know what I mean? It's not like this stuff is completely outdated. We were talking about Tomahawk missiles and stuff, surface to air missiles and things of that nature that are still in use that he was testing and helping develop. And I also didn't get into why he didn't want to go to the Pentagon. And now anybody that's done contracting understands that immediately. I talked to my buddy Jim that he has done, he worked for Raytheon for a long time, and he was like, yeah, I don't blame him for not going to the Pentagon. Completely understood. He didn't even have to say more. I was like, yeah, he said he didn't want to go to the Pentagon. He was like, yep, most don't. It's just the thing, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a contractor. I've never done that, so I can have my guesses as to why. I didn't ask Jim really too much in depth on that, but I'd imagine Brad has his own reasons as well. They're probably justified. Tend to trust his reasons. He did, we didn't get into too much of the logistics of Vietnam, which I would have loved to talk more about, but I feel personally he's not the guy to talk about that with. He's sacrificed so much. I don't want to go into my thoughts on it really and try to, I don't even know, try to even justify that we shouldn't have been there or anything like that, because why do that to him? Why have that conversation? Why have that discussion? I just wanted to ask him his thoughts. I didn't want to interject mine. Obviously, mine from a completely different perspective. 1,000% I can see we have different perspectives. Obviously, I never dropped a bomb on Vietnam, so his perspective is very different. Obviously, I think it's more of a military-industrial complex thing, a drugs thing, things like that. But again, didn't need to have that conversation with him. I absolutely really took away from it the perseverance, and it even hit me in the stupidest moment the other day. So I was sitting there putting CJ to sleep, and he's been, he's, I don't know, 17 months old now, 16 months old now, so he's got teeth coming in, and sometimes they make him really uncomfortable, and he starts crying at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and you can't really soothe him. You gotta lay over the crib and kind of put your hand on him and rock him and soothe him a little bit. And I was kind of hunched over for I don't know, 3 minutes. My arms were kind of hurting a little bit. My they were falling asleep because the way that I was hunched over him. And I was uncomfortable, and it was dark. I couldn't see anything. And he's screaming, and I'm trying to soothe him. And then he finally got soothed, and I didn't want to like back away right away. So I just kind of was sitting there, like arms were starting to hurt a little bit. They're kind of burning because I was laying over it probably for like 5-8 minutes now, maybe something like that. Not long, but decently long to be hanging over a thing in an uncomfortable position. Maybe in my brain. And I immediately was just like, yeah, just suck it up. Like, you're fine. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I'd have been like, oh man, this sucks, this is annoying. Which is slightly understandable, I feel like. But my brain immediately went to like, yeah, the guy you just talked to, he was handcuffed and his arms turned purple and he was beaten and he doesn't carry any of that with him. So I think you can hang over the railing in your son's crib for as long as needed. That was kind of my thought. I was like, I'll just sit here as long as needed. If it's an hour, I think I can handle that. If it's 3 hours, I'll be fine. If I don't get much sleep, I'll live. Kind of that like small thing, but is a bigger overall issue, if you get what I mean. Like, it was, yes, it's a minor thing, and it's the smallest thing. I mean, it even happened the other day when I was raking leaves. I was like, I'll just keep raking leaves. Like, I was like, oh man, I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I was like, just keep raking the freaking leaves. You're fine. That was my thought. That's been a lot of my takeaway of like, you're fine. Maybe that's not the best takeaway, but it also is. And then you hear people like talk about, I hate to really like push anyone's trauma down, but you hear how he was talking about how I'm not going to let this define me. And you're like, yeah, how do people let the most minor things define them when this guy didn't let this define him? His whole life after that didn't revolve around, oh yeah, I was captured for years. It's like a blip in his story. And it was 7 years. And it's just like, yeah, it happened. Now I moved past it. I went back to the air. And people let like the most minor things, like a car crash, like a single car crash, like a fender bender, or like something stupid like that is so minor and minuscule, affect them so much and carry it so heavily. And I get it. The worst thing that's ever happened to you is still the worst thing that's ever happened to you. I don't try to take that away from anyone, but I do think that we all have more in us than we like to believe. Like, we have more stamina, more mental fortitude, if you will, than we all like to believe. And that was my biggest takeaway. And then his whole philosophy of the 3 rules, you don't give any information up, you keep yourself alive, and then you keep your other people, your group alive as well, was so powerful. Talking about people, my wife was grossed out by this one, but there were people that said they had given up, they've been there for years, they're like, we're done eating. And they were forcing food down their mouth. They'd throw it back up and they'd force it back down their mouth to keep them alive. And that worked. They ended up making it home. The mental strength that those guys had. He was even telling me how they were goofing around and they were pranking the people that had them captured. Like it was a summer camp. Like that was like the thought. I was like, is this like a joke? You guys just kind of like goofing around? But he's like, yeah, then you got beat. And it's like, what? Becoming friends with John McCain later on, like so many different things. And of course, I didn't say anything about John McCain. I have my gripes about him as well. I did vote for him. I believe it was John McCain was my first vote in life, maybe not. I might have been too young. How old was I know I voted Mitt Romney. I have a long history. I think I was too young. Yeah, he ran in 2008 when I was in 8th grade, so likely too young unless I committed voter fraud, but yeah, I was too young for that. It was the first presidential campaign that I followed, that I was like heavily invested in. Sarah Palin, questionable. that whole team, honestly, I look back and I'm like, probably for the best that they didn't win. I mean, Obama sucked as well, but you guys know, every time I start talking, it always goes down the same rabbit holes of freaking politics. The brain rot. The brain rot of politics. But it's not like I talk about this constantly or think about this constantly. It's probably just ADHD brain where it's always there. It's like I kind of think about my brain as a hallway with a ton of doors, and you're always right there. You can just open up a door to politics. It's always right there. And probably because they're so heavily involved in our lives, it's like, how do you pretend that they're not? Maybe you can. I've not been able to ignore them, and they don't ignore me. That's the problem. If they left me alone, I'd leave them alone. But we haven't been able to come to that mutual understanding of, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. We're all good. I am saddened by young Cooper that in 2008 he wasn't more of a Ron Paul guy, and I think that was probably because I don't know. I think my parents were just Republicans, and I kind of got that. But then as I got older, I started reading Ron Paul, and I was like, this guy's it. We're out here. But yeah, enough about all that. Let's keep rolling. So I did a video talking about Bradenton and some of the houses being built around there, and crazy enough, people were calling me too negative. I just did a video driving through the Bradenton housing developments and how they're building these 4,000 homes, and they're all these like cookie cutter homes, and I don't love that look. Some people, I get it. It's like, not everybody's gonna live on an acre or anything like that, but they're like apartments, but not. And the one thing that always bugs me is the lack of cul-de-sacs. They're all through streets, which is like, can't we put a cul-de-sac? Can't people live on like a dead end anymore these days? Like, hook it up, I get the lack of cul-de-sac is easier, but come on. That's the one thing about my house that I'm disappointed, is that it's not on a cul-de-sac. There's a bunch in my neighborhood. I didn't get one. I got kind of a through street, but not really. But I would like a cul-de-sac. I feel like I could, if I was at like the end of a cul-de-sac, I could really take it over with the neighbors. We'd all have like a little powwow out there every day. Me and my one neighbor next door, we have like kids' toys in between the two houses, and our sons are always out there. I feel like if I had a cul-de-sac, it'd be popping, Cul-de-sac would be nice. They're a dying breed. But I was told I was too negative. I was just showing the houses and how they're kind of like lame, and they're encroaching on the drag strip and the freedom. Like, if you go to the top end of BMP right now, today, you can see lights, like, street lights, not even, 100 feet behind BMP. You can see street lights starting to go up all around it, like a good amount of them. They're right there. And that's what I'm talking about. And again, these aren't 1 acre houses with a little shop. And that's the other flip side, is everybody's like, oh, hopefully car guys move into there. Car guys tend not to move into these. There's no trailer parking. There's small garages. Small as in like they're a 2-car, but they don't have the depth or the width. They're like a perfect 2-car. Just fit your, bicycles and a Miata. Like, it could fit like 2 bicycles and a Miata. And then even some of the HOAs don't even allow you to park a vehicle in the driveway. Your vehicles have to be in the garage. Not as common around here, but in some places. So, think about that kind of HOA. Yeah. Exactly. But people call me too negative. I actually have a video queued up that I wanted to edit of me driving through these neighborhoods and showing more of it and showing some of the map and layout and trying to educate some people on what it looks like is being built all around BMP, because it's truly, it's unbelievable in a scale thing. Like, it's impressively unbelievable, but it's also sad and unbelievable in a this isn't gonna be good thing in a few years. And now there's a video, I think it's on the Oil and Whiskey clips, of Garrett talking about this is where my wife said I was being too negative. Garrett talking about an anti-Karen law, and I listened to that, and I've had some people comment that, and I've been trying to find and track down that actual like thing in the paperwork. So not because I want to disprove it, because I want to see what it looks like and prove it to be real and show people it, because I've been doing a lot of that on the Clips channel, like showing people these things that are happening in the car community and things like this. So I've been trying to trace it down, and I can't actually find it. I guess the anti-Karen clause written into these contracts allegedly would say that you are knowingly moving next to a drag strip that has been there since the 60s, and it operates many days a week, something along those lines, and you are not allowed to complain or try to shut it down. Something like that. And I called the neighborhood, I searched for a while, I just can't find it. And now, I didn't ask Garrett yet because, I mean, he's pretty busy. I was talking to him yesterday for a little while, but this didn't come up. But I was looking for it just because I want to see it with my own eyes. I want to read it. If this is in a contract, it should be easy to find-ish. And I just haven't seen it. I'd love for somebody to show me. I actually know a couple people that just moved into one of the neighborhoods, not too close to the track, but like close enough where you'll hear pro mods. That's kind of the levels. So it's like, how close are you? Can you hear the street cars? Can you hear the junior dragsters? Can you hear the, like, a alcohol car? Can you hear a pro mod? Can you hear a top fuel car? It's like, that's the scale distance. How close are you? Can you hear like a straight piped Mustang? That's like, I can hear that from my house. You know, like a straight pipe Coyote. But I haven't seen it, and I would love to. I hope it's accurate, obviously. Like, I don't want that to be not real. But I don't see it. If anybody knows about it, please send it my way. I'd like to read it. If there's any realtors, like I said, I called a community, one of the biggest communities. Who did I call? Dr. Horton, which is one of the larger builders in the area. He had no idea about it at all. I didn't really call him like I was from the drag strip. I called him like I was a home buyer, and went from that aspect and asked him about the track. And he's like, he was, I will say I really respected his answer, because he said, like, the drag strip's been there for a long time. You are moving next to a drag strip. If you move here, they do make some noise. You can hear a little bit of rumbling sometimes on the weekends, and like, there's some noise from it. He was being honest. When the newer neighborhoods get built closer, I don't know if he's gonna be able to be so nonchalant, because let's just be honest here, it's gonna be loud. They can build a dirt barrier with a fence made out of plastic and try to stop it, but on a day where it's clear and there's some wind blowing towards the houses and there's some loud cars, it's gonna be loud, and they're gonna know about it. So that's kind of my thought. Thankfully, he was forthcoming with all the information, and he was pretty honest about it all, and he didn't take my information, so that was cool. I was really worried if I call these people, they're gonna like force me to give them my phone number, email, social security number, full name and address and all that so they can spam me for the rest of my life about buying a Dr. Horton home. But I was pleasantly surprised they answered questions without, trying to get my fingerprints, because that's what it always seems like all these places want to do. They just want to sell my information to, I don't know, BlackRock? I know that's loud. Sorry. But that was my thought. So I'm still digging. I'm trying to find any information about that. But I did make some decent headway with, I was talking to Garrett about the new drag strip law in Iowa. He wasn't super familiar with that, which I was happy to be able to bring that to his attention. And I have been emailing back and forth with my Florida local congressman, not, federal congressman, but, Florida House congressman, and trying to get him to hopefully implement this law. Maybe this week or next week I'll get to sit down with them and talk to them about trying to bring that. Some of my worries are he is a first term guy. Like, he just got in the last election. So he has not been there long. What is it, 100 days? And I don't know, 105 days at this point. But that could mean one of two things. He might be trying to lay low a little bit, not cause any waves, or he might try to really do something here. He is in a dangerous spot, I feel, going to be completely honest, if he does this, because it obviously is a bit of a dig at the housing in the area, because they are probably reliant on being able to shut down the drag strip if they want to. But he seems like maybe he's got something to prove. And he's in a good position to get a win-win-win, because, if he does this, he'll get the support of the racing community, which is probably smaller than the housing community, but it'll be a state law. So I guess if you don't know the Iowa law, it basically says that if you build a home where a drag strip, near a drag strip that is already operational, you cannot complain about the noise and try to get them shut down. Pretty much the gist of it. If the drag strip was there first, they take precedent. You moved there. You knew. So Iowa did this. It was signed by the governor. Boom, boom, boom. Done. Here we go. So now there's precedent set already. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. This is not something unheard of. Not something like, we're making up here. We're just going to try to take the hope is we just take the Iowa law and Florida pass it, and then Governor Ron DeSantis could stamp that baby in, and we'll be good to go. But, like I said, this guy's got a good opportunity for a nice win. It's a small bill that's not crazy high impactful, for the grand scheme of things, but it could help BMP, it could help OSW, it could help North Florida Motorsports Park, it could help all the circle tracks, it could help Showtime, which probably not as much. Well, Showtime's been there a long time, so probably Showtime. It literally help Daytona International Speedway. It'll help Sebring. It'll help all of these small New Smyrna Speedway. Who else? Leadfoot City. Like, just endless amount of people helped by this simple thing that this guy could attach his name to. And it would get passed. I'd almost guarantee Ron DeSantis would pass this. I know he's taken a lot of money from the housing developments, like a lot of money from the housing developments. And hopefully, I'm pretty sure Ron DeSantis, let's see, how much did Taylor Ranch give to Ron DeSantis? Let's see. Maybe it'll be harder to find. But allegedly, there was some good amounts of cash given to the DeSantis deal. But this should pass. This really should. And it obviously backdates to the track and anything new, so it's so simple. We don't have to worry about specific things. We don't have to worry about our local commissioners. We go right above their head because the local stuff sucks and all of that. And even for me, I didn't feel right trying to shut down the housing developments. Like the longer I reflect on that, it feels like an over control of the government. I'm not really huge on zoning laws. If you own a piece of property, you should be able to do what you want with it. Of course, that's kind of how it works. I'm not a fan of property taxes. Another thing they're trying to end in Florida. If you own a piece of land, that's your land. If you want to put up a shed on the back of it, you do that, man. Live it up. That's kind of the thought process here. I know people are going to be like, but what about flooding? Well, if you flood someone else's property, that's your fault. But again, you have to prove it. That brings a whole nother mess of issue. That is probably a deeper topic that can't really be discussed in this without muddying up everything. But to bring this back around, meander back around to here, trying to get something like this passed. And I think this could be a really, really powerful deal here. So just call me a lobbyist, because I'm going to start lobbying the Florida state to do this. I should probably text some other track owners. But not a track owner, just an enthusiast. I just like drag racing and race cars and making noise. So if any other track owners want to hop in on this, hit me up. I know basically all of them, but if I don't know you, hit me up. Gainesville NHRA, be a real good time to do something. Not saying anything, not saying you guys don't do anything at all, but there's a good opportunity for you to do something. You can lobby and use some of that cash you got from selling multiple tracks at this point. I mean, you just keep tossing them things in the wind like they're hot potatoes. Remember when you guys sold Atlanta and Memphis, and who else did you sell? One out in California, right? Maybe time to buck up. Oh no, they put a new tower at Lucas Raceway. My bad, I forgot. But yeah, it'd be a good time. I can even show my pin. I have a NHRA drag racing member pin from 2025. But speaking of drag racing, coming up this week is Streetcar Bragging Rights. And two things. If you're not going to be able to be there, you should probably watch it on TV. I think it'll be on Freedom Plus. Those are the two things. Either be there or watch it. Because Nate Prater, who has been on the podcast, friend of the show, he is putting this on, and it's going to be his biggest one yet. Unfortunately, your friend Cooper over here does not have a motor for his Camaro. No motor. Can't make it up there, it looks like. Not completely cut off from it yet. It looks like I can't make it up there. Bronte's been really sick for the past couple weeks, so I haven't really been able to completely ditch her with the kid. Maybe she'd make the drive with CJ and we could stay up there somewhere. I kind of dug around. It seems like Rockingham doesn't really have a whole lot going on. I was like, maybe I can justify a little family North Carolina trip, but it doesn't seem like it's worth the double, the expense. Because I wanted to do oh, maybe it can be like a fun family getaway, but also I can go watch and enjoy some drag racing, but it doesn't really seem like the place to go for like a nice little family event. Maybe I'm wrong. If you guys are in the Rockingham area, let me know. Is that a good little vacation spot? I don't know. I'm on Google. It says, what is Rockingham famous for? Wildlife, a river, sand hills, game management area. Yeah, it doesn't seem that, like, touristy. I'd want to go somewhere touristy-ish, somewhere like some mountains or something like that. I don't know. I can justify that. It's hard for me to justify something that's not family-oriented. You know what I'm saying? But, like I said, Bronte's been sick a little bit, so probably nothing for me. That is also why she didn't race in the Mom Prix, but she'll race next year, I'm sure. She is a mom. But happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there. Probably no moms listening, but if you are, happy Mother's Day to you. But what I was more saying about this event is I don't know if I've seen an event that will have this much badass racing. And now, TX2K seemed like an awesome turnout. FL2K is always awesome, but as far as street car stuff, I don't know if we will have anything drag racing wise this year at least that will top this from what I'm seeing. Streetcar bragging rights, let's see it. The classes and the rules seem freaking awesome. So 3 days, 13 hours away, they got roll racing. They got Streetcar Index, which is nice that they're just calling it that now. Because a lot of times they try to pretend it's not an index, but it's an index. Oh, okay. So they have Streetcar Index, which is 950, 10.0, 1050, 11.0. Then they have No Time Overdrive, which is cool. I like the idea of that. No Time Small Tire, All Motor, DCT versus All-Wheel Drive, Stick Shift, Heavyweight, and the Streetcar Bragging Rights Shootout and Extreme 28s. They have Streetcar Bragging Rights Elite and Wild, and they're putting up some legit money to win. 10 grand for Elite, 5 grand for Wild, 400 Pro Tree, heads up, no real crazy rules. But they said they will separate the class actually into 4 different groups. Okay, so there's Elite, Wild, Mild, and Daily. So the streetcar class is mostly just index stuff at this point, unless you're in Elite. And then they have the Extreme 28s, which looks like $10,000 payout. This one has some weights. V8's 2,900 pounds, 6 cylinders 2,650, 4 cylinders 1,900 pounds, and rotary. So that will have like your Victor's car type of car. I think they're racing in it. Your Snot Rocket will race in that kind of stuff. Your real lightweight race cars. So this class will be really cool. I'll be excited to watch this one. And then the Stick Shift. Yes, Stick Shift. The boys are coming out for this one. All of those Stick Shift people that I've talked to and had on the show, and some I haven't, are all rolling up to this one. Sponsored by Grannis. He's going to be there. John Rogers with his new motor is going to be there. I'm pretty sure Betty White's going to be there. Jonathan Atkins looks like he's going to be there. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on everyone's names, but basically all of your badass stick shift cars are going to be at this deal. So that I'm really excited to watch. Like I said, it just seems like Nate, who puts this on, has really drawn the people in. I don't know if it's it's hard to really fully decompose what made an event decompose? No. Deconstruct. Decompose. What is this? Like a freaking compost pile? It's hard to deconstruct what makes an event hit versus not hit, and I think some of it is a location and time of year thing. Like, there's not a whole lot going on right now, and there's not a whole lot coming up for these type of cars. So it almost seems like the perfect case scenario, and it's fairly centrally located where it's like just everybody was just like, we're ready. So that I find really, really cool, is that it just worked. It seems like it. Can't put the cart before the horse on this deal, but it seems like he really, hit something heavy with this, and I'm pretty excited to see it unfold for him. I feel bad because he's been trying to get me to come to one of these events, and I've been trying to make it happen, but it almost seems like every time my car is down. And like I said, I looked into coming up there anyways, just could not justify it because I would only go for a little while, and then me and the wife would just kind of like, try to go off and do something different. And it was just hard for us to justify. It didn't make much sense, so kind of just is what it is. My bad. I'll make it eventually. I will make it one of these days. So I will probably end up making that video on the local stuff, and I'll definitely make a video talking about some of the trying to get this law pushed through, because I think that could be something really fun to kind of sink my teeth into a little bit, I guess, is go through the necessary procedures and push on the gas pedal a little bit on a law like this to try to make it happen. Maybe get some track owners together in Florida, maybe get some NHRA help to, help really do something for the community here. And again, this law to me feels so perfect because it doesn't do anything but strengthen property rights, which is what I'm all about anyways. It's not taking anything away from anyone. It's just making property rights stronger. That's all. And, you can even add in there, the track can't complain about houses making too much noise either. I'll give it, like, the track isn't allowed to complain about houses making too much noise. I'll give it to them. Sorry, you guys win. You can make as much noise at your house as you want. We'll make as much noise at the drag strip as we want. Everybody wins. And the drag strip is actually super respectful. Like, the BMP is really not one to be like, we're running at, 3 a.m., 2 a.m. Like, they understand there's not spectators at those times, so it's stupid to run at those times. We'll all agree on that, right? Like, once midnight, 1 a.m. hits, like, stop racing and pick this up another time, or call it from here or something like that, because no one's watching. No one's watching live. No one wants to be here. The drivers are tired. Let them go home. Kind of something like that. But it is what it is. So let's do a little pivot here, because ADHD. Are you guys aware of Amazon Flex? So Flex is where it's basically like Uber or DoorDash for Amazon. And I've lately taken notice to some of the cars I see drop off between like my neighbor's house and my house, and like I feel like I'm like a Shia LaBeouf in that one movie where I'm just like watching everything. But they show up and I'm like, what car are they driving? Because I'm a car guy. And it seems that they're driving very expensive cars. And now I don't know if this was just like not thinking, or I know it doesn't pay that much. I have done enough Googling on the Reddits to see that it doesn't pay like a crazy amount. So it's like, why, not how, like you can afford it doing this, But why would you use something that's like 40, 50, $60,000 like some of these people are using? Yeah, it's a side gig, but it's costing you, the more expensive car you get, it's going to cost you more to run it. Like today or yesterday, I saw somebody pull up in this like really nice brand new Volkswagen Atlas. Pretty pricey car. And I'm just thinking, like, unless you're really rolling in it from this, that car probably cost you almost as much to do the delivery as it does to make, you know, like what you make from it. When you like take into account maintenance and everything like that, and the loan and everything, I think they say it's like $1 a mile, 80 cents a mile to run a car, like 80, 90 cents a mile on average to run a car. So from my research, it's about $1 per mile that you make. So you're almost breaking even after hours of work using your own car. God forbid you had an insurance claim or like a big parts failure or something like that. Plus the depreciation on some of these cars. I mean, what are you going to do? 10,000 miles a year driving your car? 15,000 miles a year just, well, probably more than that, but just delivering in your Atlas? I was trying to like understand how can you justify it, because you know, I'm not thinking about this as like a wallet as like a pocket watch, or I'm thinking of this as like, does this make sense for a business to use? I mean, it's why you don't see, you know, a Volkswagen Atlas used for delivery service on Amazon trucks. It's why they are trying to buy the cheapest vehicles possible. That's the biggest expense of it. It's why mail trucks are, you know, the same, made by what, Northrop Grumman for the last, I know that's not how you say it, what is it, Northrop Grumman, something like that. For the last 50 years, they've been using the same damn vehicle because they're cheap. So you see these expensive cars with, like, you know, those tires are expensive, you know the oil changes are expensive, you know everything is pricey. To see that, just, it doesn't make sense. And like, I get it, this is not, you didn't buy the car for the delivery, but you now have a car that you can't even justify using as a delivery car, and you're out here delivering with it, and you're like maybe making the payment with it. I imagine it's probably an $800 or $900 a month payment, probably ish, maybe like $700-800, and then interest, and then insurance, and I think there's also insurance when you're doing the Amazon Flex. Is it just Jeff Bezos is just taking advantage of these people, and they're just like cleaning money through a system? They're taking the money in and it's going out to the repair shop, and they're just, you know, rolling with it as like a side gig, and maybe they haven't done it long enough to realize, like, because it's not the initial cost. So like, you could probably do this for maybe 5 months and not realize that, like, oh, like, I was actually making decent money. But then, like, you know, 6 months in, you're like, dang, I gotta do like a second oil change, and I also gotta put tires on it now, and like this and that, and like this went wrong and that, and then like you really have to like break down the cost to understand. So I don't know. I was just, if any of you guys out there are listening and do some of this stuff, how can you make sense? And maybe it's more profitable to do it with like an Uber or a Lyft or deliver food or something like that. I think it's less guaranteed. I think there's more Amazon packages like 24/7 than there is Uber. But to me, it seems like you got to use like a 99 Honda Civic or a Prius or something like that to really make it possible. And then you could really crank it out and at least be able to maintain your own car. I mean, the one car that I saw, she was not maintaining this thing, like herself. Like, I could just, did the old, what do you call it? Stereotyped them. stereotyped this person heavily, and I was like, they're not maintaining this car. She's not maintaining that car herself. Everything's either done by the dealership or by some shop or not done. Maybe that's what it is. 5 months in, a couple expenses hit, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing this. This is a horrible idea. I didn't make any money, and I spent, the past, 5 days a week doing this to make very little, and now my car depreciated more than I made, and now I'm upside down on my loan, and what do? Because if you buy a brand new Atlas and you put 15,000 miles, 30,000 miles on it in the first year, and you don't put a lot down, you're gonna be upside down. Just a thought. Just, guys know the daily thoughts with me. Oh man, there was so much I wanted to talk about that I didn't even get into. Industry plants in the automotive industry. Do you guys think that some YouTubers are industry plants? Like, I don't want to start naming them. I do, but I don't. I'll just keep watching, from the sidelines of there's a few people that blow up faster than others, and then there's a few people that get brand deals, big ones, that are should you have gotten that brand deal? That you start to think, and they're too new, too polished, too PC, too oh, that's what an advertiser wants. So you start to think, I think that's an industry plant to get advertisers as a sponge. So that's the way that I see an industry plant is a marketing agency has all these connections, but they don't have a sponge to or a lightning rod almost, to soak them up. Because, if they're making 20% off of all the brand deals, they need somebody that can soak them all in. So they need to almost, in a lab, Professor X, pour in their things, and boom. They pour in some editing, and then they pour in, mildly offensive comedy, just enough to never offend some advertisers, but just enough to be offensive comedy. And then you also pour in a little bit of somewhat car knowledge, and boom, you got yourself a recipe to have an industry plant that you can throw all your brand deals at forever and take that sweet 20%, and then boom, you're in there. Because they don't want to rely on someone random. They don't want to hope that someone doesn't do what they don't want them to do, or gets in trouble, or says something wrong. They want someone consistent and clean, and the only way to do that is to create them like Dr. Frankenstein. Just weld someone together. And I think that, I'm sure it happens in other industries, but I think it's a potential in the automotive industry. I think, what do you guys think? Who's the industry plant? Who is it? Who do you think I'm thinking of? It's not Cletus, obviously, because I would have known. Maybe not. Maybe they're that good. Maybe I wouldn't have known. But somebody's planted. Somebody's tricked into here. It's probably Jimmy Dale. It's probably planted by the CIA. Maybe. I don't know. But that'll do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Follow, subscribe. Go watch the last episode with Brad. And this week I got some people coming on, and it'll be pretty fun. So, thank you so much for watching. Keep it saucy. I'll see you next time. doo.